who allegedly was running the city. Okay. Let me zoom out so you can see that a little better. Okay. This is the sentencing memorandum. This is this number right here. Let me highlight it, make it come back to the screen so y'all can see it highlighted. Do y'all see that highlighted? I hope you do. Okay, that's 189 pages. These people, which is the government I'm talking about, are not playing. Okay, good. They went back to break this whole damn thing down. But we're going to read a little bit just to see what it's about, right? They said throughout this case, and over the course of a 7-week trial, this court has seen extensive evidence demonstrating the defendant's criminal conduct perpetrated across more than a decade. At trial, the defendant disputed that the government had made out particular elements of the charged federal offenses, but he largely conceded his conduct, the violence, domestic abuse, drug use, distribution, and bribery. The defendant will not be punished for any crimes of which he was acquitted, of course, but punishment for his crimes of conviction must take into account the manner in which he committed them. And this is how they use the things that you were acquitted of against you come sentencing, and that's called relevant conduct. Okay. For that same reason is why they're going to bring the things that you was alleged against, that was alleged against you. They're going to bring it back here now. This is why they just explained that. Okay. His crimes of convictions are serious and have warranted sentences over 10 years in multiple cases for defendants who, like Sean Combs, engaged in violence and put others in fear. Consistent with those cases and based on corroborated evidence presented at trial, this court should impose a sentence of no less than 135 months. Okay, Diddy in his cell right now, like,
oh no, you can't be serious. That is some bullshit right there.
Diddy, like, yo, that is some bull. Okay, they swinging for 135 months now. Okay, at first they were saying the basic standard was like 50 something, 60 something months. That's it. That was like, but now they're trying to double that, and they're trying to double that for the fact to say, listen to me. Based on Cassie being with him for 11 years and she's dealt with this for 11 years, we want 11 years. I think it's smart for the prosecution to think like this. I think it's like strategic to put this in the judge's mind for him to look at it like the 11 years. This girl's been there for 11 years, and you just like sticking this in his brain, because that's what the prosecution was even doing with us. During that whole trial, they were just going, reiterating. They was reiterating the smallest of details. Like even when Cassie was talking about the urine, like, oh my God, like I had to block the urine with my hand. She was like this. Cassie went just like this. She said she had to stop it. She blocked the urine with her hand. She was like, so what was going on? She's like, I was choking. It was just too much urine in her mouth. Right? They was like, so what you mean? And they were just going into breaking down each part with the urine. Bro, this is how the prosecution worked, bro. They was drilling in your mind. So for the jury to not convict on the charges that they did, that mean the jury ain't believe it, bro. Period. Because they drilled it. Okay. So with things like this, they're just drilling it now into the judge's mind to understand, like, yo, listen to me. It's not just about he's just on these two tuition charges. Let's think about how long this woman has been with this man dealing with it. We understand that it started from she was 22, not from when she was 19. But some people may say the 19 to the 22 is the grooming phase. That's what some people may say. I mean, I can't tell people how to think and feel, but you know what I mean? Kind of makes sense. You know what I'm saying? But we understand that the FO started from 22. Okay. So maybe they should have been pushing for missing. Maybe for like 9 years. You know what I'm saying? But they saying nah, the whole 11 years. And basically the prosecution saying those years is grooming years. So that prepared her and prepped her for the freak also all the other things that she was about to be getting into. You know what I mean? Okay, cool. So it says imprisonment, 135 months imprisonment. That's where I was at, right? Boom. They said a substantial term of imprisonment is also needed in this case because the defendant is unrepentant, incredibly, while the defendant conceded his acts of violence and abuse throughout the trial. He now argues that his victims, make sure y'all seeing this, right? Y'all not even seeing this. Hold on. Because I don't even know why this shit even did this dumb shit. I can't even see this. I can see it. This. Cool. Let's try that. All right. Yeah, let's try that. So we can just read a little bit of it just to see what we're dealing with, right? So boom, or at least how they play in their hand, right? They said a substantial term of imprisonment is also needed in this case because the defendant is unrepentant. Incredibly, while the defendant conceded his acts of violence and abuse throughout the trial, he now argues that his victims should shoulder the blame. The defendant tries to recast decades of abuse as simply the function of mutually toxic relationships. But there is nothing mutual about a relationship where one person holds all the power and the other ends up bloodied and bruised. This is a major thing because we also understand that the defense was saying that Cassie had the power in her ways because she's the one that had all the videotaped evidence. So this, listen, they saying basically the defense is saying, look, all right, how Puff got all the power, right? When every tape that we seen or anything that we know of any video stuff came out because Cassie had the video evidence, right? None of these things was ever found in Puff crib or nothing like that. So all the evidence Cassie had. So they saying, no, Cassie actually had more power because she had all of the videos, which is all of this videos in this trial. So maybe she's using the power of having the videos. This is what the defense was saying, right? But now look what the prosecution comes back to battle them with. See what I'm saying? So you got to understand that's what's still going on. So everything that happened in the trial is still happening, right? They said, indeed, in connection with sentencing, Cassandra Ventura, who, along with multiple escorts, was transported across state lines by the defendant for multi-day FOs in connection with count 3, of which the defendant was convicted, writes to the court that FOs were degrading and disgusting, leaving her with infections, illness, and exhaustion. Ventura became addicted to D-rugs the defendant provided her. She still has nightmares about the defendant's conceded physical abuse, which lasted more than a decade and left her with permanent scars all over her body. The abuse drove Miss Ventura to unaliving thoughts, which she almost followed through on as she testified at trial. Ventura asked the court to impose a sentence that considers the many lives that the defendant upended with his abuse and control. The court also heard testimony and reviewed contemporaneous communications from Jane, who, along with escorts, was transported across state lines by the defendant for hotel nights in connection with count 5, of which the defendant was also convicted. Now, Jane's testimony and communications detail how she was manipulated and beaten by the defendant. That evidence included a note Jane wrote to herself about how she felt violated and was tormented by how the defendant had placed and paid all of these harmful men on me and risked my health every single time for 2.5 years. The defendant who perpetrate violations of the Mann Act involving such violence and fear regularly face significant penalties. The defendant should be no exception, particularly when his history and characteristics demonstrate years of abuse and violence. Several former employees abused and exploited by the defendant, including one whom the defendant actually assaulted, submitted letters to the court in connection with the sentencing. These letters uniformly asked this is what I'm telling you, this is the good words. I told you about this when I started this video. I said each letter, like going to even towards the end, some of them have the same language. When it comes to Mia and it comes to Capricorn Clark, they both use certain words. That's what I'm saying. Like maybe the prosecution helped tailor this too as well, because they both also use the words. It stopped the trajectory of my career trajectory. You know what I mean? So they was using like similar words, and it's hard for 2 people, 5 people, much less that gave up victim impact statements, to be saying the same kind of words. It's kind of weird, but we understand that they said what they probably wrote, and then the prosecution has dressed it up, or however that went, and now they've dressed all of this up to make everything go the way it's going to go, and then sent it back to them to say, all right, this is your whatever you saying, just dressed up. Boom. Do you agree with that? Then they probably agree with that. The letters uniformly asked the court to impose a sentence that reflects the severity of the defendant's conduct and his history and pattern of violence. Given the seriousness and the duration of the offense conduct, as well as his decades of unchecked violence, Consideration of the relevant factors under 18 U.S.C. 3553A weighs heavily in favor of a substantial sentence as well as the statutory maximum fine. The sentence imposed on the defendant should reflect the substantial psychological, emotional, and physical damage he has inflicted. Most significantly, the nature and seriousness of the offense, the need for deterrence, and to promote respect for the law, and the history and characteristics of the defendant warrant a sentence of no less than 135 months imprisonment. Such a sentence is consistent with similar situated defendants who committed Mann Act violations and is warranted here. Procedural background. Let me just check my screen. Damn, y'all didn't even see anything, but I could read good though. But I want to show you. Listen, y'all got to drop likes for that. I taught myself to read, nigga. Reading Rainbow, bro. I can't. Yeah, nigga. So if you know what the Reading Rainbow is, nigga, know that, homie. Haru. Listen, hold up. Right? They said procedural backgrounds. A federal investigation and charges. The U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York and Homeland Security Investigations, HSI, began investigating the defendant in connection with physical and sexual abuse of intimate partners, among other acts of violence, on November 17, 2023. In September 2024, a grand jury sitting in the Southern District of New York indicted the defendant on September 16, 2024. The defendant was arrested in New York and taken into federal custody. Since his arrest, the defendant has been housed in Metropolitan Detention Center, MDC, in Brooklyn. On or about April 3rd, 2025, a grand jury sitting in the Southern District of New York voted a 5-count superseding indictment charging the defendant with the following racketeering conspiracy in violation of the Title 18 United States Code section. Come on, bro. We know this, man. We're not going to read that, bro. Tired of this. Okay, let's see what this is talking about. The defendant pretrial bail hearings. Let's see what this is about. The defendant was arraigned on September 17th. Pretrial bail hearings. We don't want to know that's pretrial, bro. Let me just see if there's anything in here that we want to see. The judge appealed that Judge Tarnofsky decision to the Judge Carter, to whom the case was then assigned in a bail hearing. Judge Carter proceeded on September 18, 2024, a lengthy argument. Judge Carter denied the defendant bail, finding that the defendant was a danger regarding obstructing of justice and witness tampering, and that the defendant posed a danger to the safety of others in the community. Okay. So he had his detention, his bail renewal. Pass all of that, bro. Trial. We understand the trial. Let's go through the trial. Hold up. The FOs. Testimony of Jane, who was in a relationship with the defendant, ultimately 2021, through the defendant's arrest, and engaged in frequent hotel nights with the defendant, and also experienced violence and manipulations at the hands of the defendant, including after the defendant knew that he was under investigation for sex trafficking. That's crazy. This line is crazy. This line right here is crazy. Through the defendant's arrest and engage in frequent hotel nights with the defendant, and also experience violation and manipulation at the hands of the defendant, including after the defendant knew that he was under investigation for sex trafficking. That's crazy. The testimony of multiple other individuals who experienced violence at the hand of the defendant. Testimony of former employees. We understand that. We got photos, offense conduct. Okay, let's go here. Beginning in April 2009, the defendant paid dozens of male commercial sex workers to have sex with Ventura and Jane hundreds of times. The defendant organized, directed, and paid for these FOs, as Ventura referred to them, and hotel night, as Jane referred to them, sometimes on a weekly basis. Both Ventura and Jane did not want to have sex with these strangers and told the defendant as much on several occasions. This is a hard one, though, because we can understand that maybe they did want to do that, especially Jane. Jane was dealing with the whole other dude. We know who he is. You dealing with Diddy now. Your baby father and Diddy's ops. You know what I mean? What do you want? Love and marriage from Diddy? Diddy's just a simp too. He's a simp, bro. He's a trick, cuck, and a simp. Straight. Because why is you even loving up your aunt baby moms? Like, how is that even possible? And why is y'all even acting like this was a true thing or a real thing? And y'all was appreciating each other. Y'all loved each other. And why she in the court talking about her significant other, bro? Stop, bro. How much do you love your son, lady? Come on, bro. And y'all want to make a case for Jane. Get out of here. How much do you love your son, woman? Your son was living in that house, bro. What are you talking about? $10,000 a month? And you spent all the money on a house? What are you talking about, bro? Where's your priorities, Jane? Okay? And you're FOing in a house where your child's at. And y'all gonna defend that. Y'all gonna defend that. You know how many women I met, bro? And we was cool and shit like that? Probably never went to a crib, bro. Y'all kids into who cares? Probably known her for years, probably clapped it mad times, over 100 times I've clapped it. But she loves her kids, bro. Don't matter, bro. You're gonna be FOing in your crib, bro. Multiple men in your crib. Where your kid at? What type of timing is that? And you dealing with your baby father's op. So again, how much do you love your kid that you're dealing with your baby father's op? And you act like you in love with the nigga. What? Stop it. There's many fish in this sea, bro. Stop being fools to me, bro. Jane, when it comes to Cassie, you can say whatever. But Jane, I'm telling you, bro, she's a grown-ass woman, and I'm done with that. I'm done with that. I'm done with that. You know that you wanted a baller. You know that after dealing with who you was dealing with, you had to go for either one or two people, Jay-Z or Diddy, and you know the truth, and you're not getting Hove. So ease up, sister. You're not getting Hove. So we understand. We understand. But again, Diddy's a simp. Diddy's a trick. Diddy's a cuck. Because he put himself in that position. Right? Because he could have FO'd and all that and left her alone. Bye. Right? Imagine how much it broke Diddy heart that he was sitting in that court and she was in there testifying and talking about, well, they said, Jane, what do you see on the screen? What you bought Diddy? What did you buy for his birthday? Oh, I bought him a TV that wheels around the room and stuff like that. So why did you buy him this TV? I bought it so that it could suffice. Instead of the escort, we could just watch back my movies and stuff like that. And maybe we could just make love because I seen that that's what was getting them off, basically. You know what I mean? All right, cool, Jane. I'm not knocking Jane for thinking that. Whatever. Cool. All right. So, Jane, when you looked at the videos, did you watch them back? She said, yes. Did you see yourself? Yes, I just saw myself. Okay, Jane. So what did you see when you saw yourself? All I saw was this repeated pattern, just this pattern going over and over. And Imagine Diddy was in the court like this. Still paying the rent, you know. Paying for lawyers and all that, you know that. Paying for lawyers and all that, you know. Hey, what up? Paying for lawyers and all that, bro. Think about this. Still to the day. You making money. Did he even help the lady to create her own business and all that, which she bragged about in the court like she was making money and she was making out 50,000 or whatever the hell she was making. So all right now. So why do you need Diddy's measly $10,000, bro, which is $333 a day? Why do you need $330 a day? Why do you need $333 a day that bad? When she's a beautiful woman, she could get a man that's a street nigga, a regular businessman, a regular working man to give her $333 a day. That's a fact, son. Regular dude to give her 10 grand. That you who, baby moms? Whole list, come. A regular guy. Whole list, come. Nigga probably worked for garbage, saved up his whole life. Whole list. See what I mean? So what are we talking about here, bro? What are we talking about? She's there because she wanted to be there, bro. She's there because she wanted to be there. Jane, I'm talking about. Cassie, you can say whatever. Oh, nah, she groomed it. Da, 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 da. All right, cool. But when it comes to Jane, I've been on my ledge, bro. I don't care what you say. I don't care. She was grown. She know the deal. She didn't even want to go get her own bag. She's getting her own money, and you still want this? Like, what? And you didn't even want more money. That's why I'm tight with Jane, too. Bro, you got a whole kid, bro. You spent the whole 10,000 on the apartment in the crib. Why? The rent, the whole thing is for on the 10,000. So she never got the 10,000 that she bargained for when it came up with the love contract, bro. You bargained. You got him on the heels right now. He's about to come up with an agreement with you. Yo, man, I'm tired of what I was doing. I was wrong. You know what I'm saying? We need more love. You know what I'm saying? We need more love. I'm going to come up with a love contract. That's what Diddy told her. All right, cool. So that means she got Diddy like this at the moment. Love contract. Cool. What's that? Yo, what's your allowance I'm going to pay you every month? Cool. She threw a number out there. Regular number, you know. This how cheap Diddy is. Billionaire, supposedly. Look, bro. This how cheap Diddy is. Diddy's partly in there because he's cheap. Bro, look. She throws a number out there. 20 grand. Diddy like, hell no. Diddy like, hell no. She like, all right, cool. 15 grand. He like, no, sir. No, it's a no can do. Diddy said it's a no can do, bro. I'm like, How does a love contract? And I'm trying to tell you what I want, and you ain't give me what I want, bro. This is weird. But before she even fluff up, the woman could do that. Nah, you know what? I'm done. Like, fuck out of here. You want to talk about this? Ain't no love. Blah, blah, blah. She didn't even do that. Fluff. Fluff like a woman fluff. Nah, nigga, you gonna give me more, right? She didn't even do that. She says 10. He like, all right, cool. Get we go with 10. Bruh, she didn't even haggle the price, homie. How you don't haggle Diddy? You got a billionaire on the fish. You got a billionaire on the reels, homie. Feel me? Diddy telling you he gonna give you the love contract, homie. And that's all you come up with is 10,000. You couldn't haggle that price. Diddy wants you to do an FO, bro, every week. You know how much Diddy will pay for an FO? He loved that shit so much that you were supposed to be getting rich off FOs. FO should have been your business, fool. What's wrong with you then? You was doing them, so what are we doing then? No, sir. You're going to be paying me 10K a FO. What are you talking about? Not 10K a month. 10K an FO. That's 40K a month, lady. Regardless. That's every day. You know how hard Diddy was doing hustling? Diddy would have been jerking people on contracts and all types of shit, bro, to get that money up for the methos, bro. I'm telling you, bro. Where you gonna find it? Yes, mad people to do it, but he wants who he wants to do them. Trust me. And Jane had more power than she even knew. Even Cassie, she had more power than she even knew, son. Trust me, son. But Diddy was just crazy though. The other shit with Diddy, that's why I say with Cassie, you gotta leave because there's a lot more. Cassie went through a lot of years of violence. She went through mad shit. Jane didn't go through what she went through. The defense said that Jane had one instance of violence with Diddy. That's it. So they making it seem they lumped her in with Cassie just now, like they had all this violence, but they only mentioned one episode of violence, which they say that Jane initiated the violence by, I think, slamming Diddy head on a counter or some shit or throwing something. And I think Diddy wilded out after that, though. Diddy beat her up, though. But I think they said the defense, they're going to say that, you know what I mean? She initiated, but that's how women be, you know what I mean? So just because a woman just hit you, though, that don't mean you got to go off the handles and just fucking kill her. I mean, so we get it. So Diddy's super violent, and that's partly the reason of why he was even in that whole trial. Majorly the whole reason why. It's less about FOs and more about his violence. And his violence is what's going to come to bite him. Just the violence, bro. Not the FOs, the violence, bro. Trust me. Much. So I don't know about this one. Both Cassie and Jane did not want to have sex with these kids. No, they did. They did. Maybe in different circumstances, maybe without the abuse when it comes to Cassie, maybe putting on condoms because Jane was like, yo, let's wear condoms too as well, besides Cassie. But we know for a fact Jane was like, yo, bro, because that's what I'm saying. Come on, bro. They did go through a lot. Even Jane too, bro. Even Jane too. So I'm not going to say that she didn't. She did, bro. Because, you know what I mean? She even went as far as to getting two guys that was corn stars to say, boom. Because remember, corn stars get tested all the time. So Jane went as far to get corn stars, suggesting, yo, bro, can we bring these two guys in or whatever, like two corn star type dudes, and like try to like vet them with Diddy, you know what I'm saying? But I don't know if Diddy went for whatever the case may be, because she know that they'll be clean, so they'll be having the raw sex, you know what I'm saying? Unprotected sex. So we did see Jane do that. So we did. Hold on, let me go back to Jane. So we damn sure did see Jane do that. So I can't lie on that. But it's just that she was old enough, man. And she was dead, bro. And you just ain't have no good intention for Diddy, and Diddy ain't have no good intention for you. So why y'all dragging it like y'all was in some loving thing that y'all was having? Y'all was not in nothing loving, bro. She was far from loving, like Cassie said in her impact statement. She was far from loving, bro. You too, Jane. The defendant's relationship with Ventura over the course of 4 days. Cassandra Ventura testified in detail about her relationship with the defendant, which lasted a little over a decade, for approximately 2008 until approximately 2018. 2008 to 2018. Some of her testimony is summarized below. The defendant pursued Cassie Ventura romantically when she was approximately 21 years old, and he was approximately 38 years old. After he signed her to a 10-album deal, this was the craziest thing ever, though. This is part the reason why I thought he was going to get clipped and maybe even get a bigger charge and get convicted of the bigger stuff. It's because you also did this and you never like put her out. It's like, it's crazy. And Cassie was in the court talking about Actually, Brian Steele, I think, and whoever was not Brian Steele, because Nicole Westmoreland spoke to Cassie, right? No. Teeny, I think Teeny Garagos. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think Teeny crossed Cassie. But they was referencing this throughout the case of saying like she had so many songs, bro. She had songs with Lil Wayne. She had songs with damn near Lil Baby. I don't know. So many songs she had. And I'm telling you, it sounded like it could have been great songs. But Diddy never put the records out. You know what I mean? So I think that was kind of foul that he did that. And that's going to come to bite him in some ways too. Ventura described that at the time, she was really super young. That shows coercion in some ways. You know what I'm saying? Whether you want to think it's not coercive, but it's like if you believe in a person, you got the person, boom, the person never ever got a career. So we understand that her career trajectory was halted, even though Capricorn Clark is saying her career trajectory was halted because she was blacklisted from the industry and all of that. And she got a son that's autistic and nonverbal, and all these things is going on. And she got to work a couple of jobs to even make it suffice to what her worth is. And we understand Mia saying the same thing, as well as Mia suggesting that even maybe some intellectual property that she's created, because I remember that Mia was creating like a show or something, like her and Diddy was working on some show or something like that, or something that Diddy was, some baby of hers, like it's like a show or something that Diddy was on, but I think Diddy canceled it. And then he said that's what threw her off the ledge. And then she was having like unalive thoughts and all these other things. So the defense was trying to use that to say she was in love with Diddy and all of that. Is basically when Diddy cut off the strings with this little her baby project here is when she flipped the lid. Whatever. You could take that with a grain of salt, believe that if you want. But I'm just saying. When she said in her victim impact statement, she said, yeah, man, she took it really hard. And so to hear from their own words now and not from the lawyers talking about it, it's impactful. Whether you like it or not, it's impactful. Yep. Let me see. Unannounced and let himself in. Right? The debate Ventura Apartments and frequently came over unannounced and let himself in often violent fits of rage. Yep, he did this. Cassie even said at one point she had a knife stuck in the door, just in case. She had a knife just like stuck in the back and just in the door, just in case he came through and barged in. She just stuck the shit right through the door. Bang. So it was right in the door. So like once he opened the door, it'd be a knife like sticking in the door. Just in case she needed access to a knife or a weapon, bro. She stuck a knife in the door. That shit was crazy when I heard that one. My bathroom is broken. He has my keys, so I'm leaving. I do not feel safe. 3 of my doors are now broken. He came through busting down the crib. He did all of that. Yeah, he did all of that. He texted crazy. He texted all the time too. He did. He did. He damn sure did. Hold up. He did. Let's see what else he did. What Combs did to Cassie on a videotape is indefensible. That right there is going to kill him. It's going to hurt him right here, right? Okay. Diddy's problem is the lack of humanity as well. And what comes across in that video is a lack of humanity. You feel me? You just got to talk it straight, bro. You know what I'm saying? I have no side in this case, bro. You feel me? It's not like I was on the trial. So we just got to talk it straight and talk it what it is. Okay? Straight. Diddy was foul, bro. Diddy was dead wrong, bro. Nobody gonna say he was not, nigga. He was dead wrong. Nobody can defend Diddy for what Diddy's done, bro. Nobody can, bro. Okay? That's how come Diddy's defense team and Diddy himself should be coming up with more accountability stuff and talking about how you're going to change it and how you plan on making these changes. Not just you're going to be in therapy, not just you're going to be talking to some counselors, not just those things. You know what I'm saying? You got to be talking detailed about this and taking some ownership of at least the things that you have been convicted of, bro. You've been convicted of them. Listen, you got to understand, bro, whether you think you innocent of a crime or you're not, bro. Okay? When you've been convicted now, you've been convicted. You got to change gears now. You have to change gears now. All right. When you caught up in certain things, you got to show some kind of accountability in the court now. You see what I'm saying? Whether you think it's wrong or right, bro. You think it's wrong or right, bro. Because that's going to impact your sentencing. Not just Diddy, anybody, bro. Especially if you there for domestic stuff and you there for like this type of stuff and being abusive and coercing and all that of women and all this stuff, bro. Especially even anytime in court with women and all that, you're not looking good. But especially nowadays in the era we in the Me Too and all that, bro, it's not looking good for you. You go in that court, son, with some bravado and acting like you ain't sorry to family and sorry to their mother and sorry to this and sorry to that, bro. What are you talking about, bro? That's what the defense is supposed to be talking about. Listen, man, regardless of the fact, Sean Combs is ultimately, and all the other big words you want to put in there, sorry not only to Cassie Ventura, but to her parents, her family, the children, for even having to go relive this now that she even had to come to court with all of this. Okay? Straight up. Really like taking ownership. Yeah, at the time, maybe I felt like it was consensual. A lot of it was. But this trial has got me to see that some of my actions may have been out of pocket, you know what I'm saying? But I did love her. I do love her. I did love Jane, you know what I'm saying? And I did, but maybe my love was skewed. Maybe my vision was blurred. Maybe you know what I'm saying? Maybe the reality of it, or how I was living in my lifestyle and all of these different things, maybe the D-rugs and all of these types of things, not making excuses, but just keeping it real. Just keeping it real, bro. Just regular, no story, no doctored up speech, just keeping the shit real, bro. Straight, bro. And that's all I think Diddy should have really been doing, bro. Since he was denied bail, son. That's it, son. They should have changed gears, bro. Straight. This is what we gonna do, man. Boom. Straight. This is what Sean Combs wanted to say for real. Because the last thing we heard him say was when he got up and spoke in court. And he was like, yo, judge, yo, listen, I want to say that you're doing an amazing job. And then the judge was trying to speak, and then Diddy was trying to say something. I was like, Diddy, don't stink it up, Diddy. Don't say no more. And the judge was like saying something, and then Diddy stopped, was like, yeah, judge. And then the judge was like, yeah, speak. He was like, nah, I just want to say that, you know what I mean? He was doing a great job, da-da-da-da. And, you know what I'm saying, da-da-da-da. Some shit he said, whatever Diddy said. So that's the last time we heard Diddy speak. Before that, when was the last time we heard Diddy speak before that? When he came out and did the apology speech on Instagram or TikTok, wherever he was, remember at first he was acting like he was denying it, and then he came out with the sad face like, yo, man, you know what I'm saying? I was in the dark place, or whatever the case may be. Yes or no? So that's the last time we heard Diddy speak, bro. You understand that? We heard him deny it. And then we heard him undeny it because he had no choice. Do you understand that? So now what he's supposed to be pushing out is something that's real now. You have to take accountability. First of all, you fronted at first. I know you a celebrity. I understand you. Ain't nobody going to keep. Who's pleading guilty to some charges? Ain't nobody trying to go to jail, plead guilty to no charge. But I'm trying to show you, bro, you've already done that. That's on record. See what I'm saying? So you're not taking any accountability, Diddy. Bro, you bugging, bro. You know what I'm saying? That should have been the whole thing. It should have been the whole play. Whether he believed it or not. Listen, man, regardless of the fact, you know what I'm saying? Boom, boom, boom. You know what I'm saying? I didn't feel like I was guilty of a RICO or this and this and that. You know what I mean? But maybe me seeing this, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I mean, maybe I am guilty of this. These two counts. You know what I'm saying? You are. If you did this, then they put it like that. Because you don't need people to corroborate this charge that he's charged with. All you need is receipts and records to prove this. The flight, the hotel, the this, the that, the that. The phone records, whatever, Cassie, whatever, bro. That can prove that count, bro. You don't need people to come and testify really for that. It just corroborates and just sticks it. But I'm just saying, those counts are really proven through phone records and receipts. So basically, you're guilty of them, right? Don't argue with it. Fuck it. I felt like he was going to get convicted of those two anyway. I said that on Daily Mail. I said that on my interview on the news. It's on Shade Room. They asked me for my take on it, and I wasn't really going to give a verdict, but I said, you know what? That's my girl too, Sharon. So you know what? I'm going to do that. And I gave her a take, and I told her that day. You know what I mean? I say no to the RICO. I don't think they'll convict on that. I say no to the trafficking. I don't think they'll convict on that. But I just think it's hard for him to get away from the interstate tuition charges. And the prosecution was smart, even though they were kind of fooled how they charged it, because they overcharged it, and that's why they failed in some ways with the case. But they was also smart how they charged it, which they charged them with 2 counts of one thing, 2 counts of one thing, and one thing. So if he got convicted of 1 trafficking, he'd have got convicted of 2. So if he got convicted of 1, which I knew most likely he'd get convicted of 1 tuition of Cassie, I don't know if the jury would have believed that he did the same to Jane. Maybe Jane's older, maybe Jane's more, you know what I mean? But they did. And the same thing that's going to make you guilty of the first count is going to make you guilty of the second count. So it doesn't matter if the circumstances may vary and they're kind of different. Did you do it or not? Yeah, you did. So you could talk more about, you know what I'm saying, about that, about not wanting to be that, about not wanting to do that, about your daughters, how you're raising 4 daughters or something like that. And you don't want that type of image to be long lasting or the lasting image on your daughters. And, you know what I'm saying, you discussed it with yourself that you was living in such of a manner, whether you want to go home and live in this manner again, bro. Because we're not perfect. Sometimes we lie to ourselves. Sometimes we say we're not going to do something. Yo, I'm not going to be with her no more. I'm not going to be with him no more. And you're still with them. Like, we do shit, right? No one's perfect.